I'm just happy that today I remembered to connect to my hotspot instead of the internet to the house that keeps dropping. In fact, I better.
You're running smooth.
For me, even the hotspot's been spotty today. It's been temperamental.
Yeah, I actually struggled this morning getting onto our first Zoom meeting this morning. I was actually late because I sat there watching it kick me out and just spin. So, but you're coming through smooth, Roger. You're not glitchy at all on my end.
Okay, good. I see a student that is mentioning she's having some audio challenges with hers. Since we're getting it out there and other people are hearing it, it may be on your end, Nesreen. I don't know what I can do for you from our end.
Sometimes when we've had audio issues, if you go out and then come back in, it corrects.
So I don't know if you heard that, Nesreen. Maybe read.
I also sent it in chat too, so hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since there are some technical difficulties in the field and we have such a low number at this point. Oh, good. I see Victor connecting. Victor, I'm curious. You're muted, but can you give me like a thumbs up if you can hear me okay on your end? So Kristen, you did email the one student that was in the chat about that, or you did chat her essentially?
She just gave us a thumbs up.
Okay. Well, there's a possibility that maybe everybody's looking at the YouTube stream too, or that a number of people would be. So again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I do feel I'd like to give students another minute if they're having some technical difficulties. So bear with us. And I know we're scheduled to go an hour, but we'll run a little bit late if we get a little started a little late and need a little more time. So hope everybody's doing well, and may the internet gods be with you today. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. I've got 2 minutes after, and I think the very beginning of this will be a little bit of housekeeping. So if somebody comes in a little bit late, that's okay. The real content and meat and potatoes of this will be once we get to the various updates. But I want to welcome everybody to this virtual town hall. And I'm looking, well, we've got about 40 students. We did one of these yesterday and we maxed out the system with about 300 staff. So I'm hoping more students will be able to join, and depending on the interest and how students want to proceed, we can look at doing this again because we want to make sure students are feeling connected. A little bit of housekeeping to make sure we have an orderly Zoom meeting. We have controls with Kristen and a couple of other people that are controlling the access to speaking. We're going to handle the questions. It's meant to be interactive, but we'll do that through the chat feature. That will maybe present some problems with students that are on the YouTube, but I think we can see some emails coming in. I know we put out some requests for students to maybe email, and we did get a handful of questions from students coming in on a variety of topics that will be addressed today. The other issue that I want to address with housekeeping, some of the questions that I saw were very, very specific with particular, maybe a financial aid document or a particular class and an issue with a specific class. If we don't get down to that, we'll make sure that the dean or the financial aid director deals specifically with those students, because we have to be mindful of privacy rules, as well as it may not be applicable to everyone, but I don't want you to think your question or your issue is not going to go unaddressed. So we want to make sure that you feel connected in that way. And if your question doesn't get answered today, we are planning on putting out a frequently asked question, an FAQ update, once this is done, for some of the more common questions and issues that come up, and we will add that and make sure that happens there. And we're also going to be answering some of the questions through the chat feature. So we want to make sure that you are having your questions answered if at all possible. But with that, the format's going to go, we want it to be interactive as we go. So we will be turning this over to each of the respective areas to discuss some of the major updates in their area. And I should be, reminded myself that we'll do some self-introductions when we speak. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Roger Schultz. I am the superintendent president of Mount San Jacinto College. And I am blessed to have an incredibly student-focused team that surrounds and supports all of us. That includes you students. So you'll be hearing from each of them as we go through. And we'll lead off, not right now, because I have a few more comments, but we'll go through first with instruction, and then we'll talk a little bit about the budget and what it may mean for you as students. And then we will get to student services with a lot of questions I know happening around graduation and financial aid and student life, and so many support services like Food for Thought and so much more. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and drop into a few moments of comments before I address one issue that is extremely timely that came out yesterday. But I first of all want to thank our students and make sure that they understand we appreciate what they're going through. We're going through it on the other side of our educations, and we have those degrees, and you're in a different situation, and we recognize that you are facing some incredible challenges. Everybody's life is unique, and I think seeing some data that our research department showed that our students are not dropping. In fact, we have close to 2,000 enrollments more than we did last spring at this time, with a relatively flat head count. And that speaks to your resiliency and your dedication and your commitment to your education, and truly living our vision for yourself of transforming you as the learner, transforming your community, and transforming your lives. And so I want to thank you for that. And when institutions get into tough times, we have our mission statement, and I've looked at that. And it also is a time to look at, we have our institutional learning outcomes that are important to look at too. And you may not always reflect on those. We do as we go through our program reviews. And, I looked at them today, and I think you really are exemplifying and demonstrating achievement in our institutional learning outcomes. You're going through and doing critical thinking, you're problem solving in your own life for your education. You're communicating in new ways at a different level that you have never expected to be thrust into before, and you're doing a great job of it. Your personal actions and civic responsibility, we're seeing that through the virtual meetings and the dedication of you all with clubs and volunteering in the community, and our nursing students carrying on with their education and contributing. There's just so many things to be proud of. Aesthetic awareness, I wasn't going to add that, but I think, how can you not have enhanced aesthetic awareness with as much maybe TV or reading and art that you're looking at, and an appreciation for the outdoors? So you're living that. And of course, the social awareness, another ILO that, again, in this situation, being mindful of our fellow man and the impact on the various aspects of our society. And I'm a communications major, social sciences, and not always been the greatest science student, but I think all of us have learned to have a greater understanding and appreciation for scientific awareness in this crisis. So I cannot think of another way to illustrate more broadly that we are living the institutional learning outcomes. You are learning more today. And like I said, you're persevering, you're overcoming in a period of extreme adversity. And although it's not a lesson or a way we've wanted to have you experience higher education, I hope that you will walk away with a renewed confidence in yourself to achieve and overcome in periods of tremendous adversity, because I'm hoping this is the toughest thing we will ever collectively have to face in our lives. But the way I'm watching this organization, our student body, I am incredibly proud of how you have responded. And I want to thank you for being our students. But this experience, we will get to the other side. And I know it sounds very trite, but you will be better for this experience, because you will be able to say, that car breaking down or that other issue that seemed so monumental previously, when you say you have solved this issue over a period of months and still gotten your education and moved on, you can look back. And as I always say, the best predictor of your future is your past success. And I think you're on a path to success as you overcome. So congratulations on staying with it. And we're here to do everything we possibly can for you. It's not ideal, not an ideal situation. It's nothing any of us created, and we're literally addressing issues like we have never anticipated before. But I want to make sure all of our decisions are set in a priority of making sure the health and safety and well-being of you, our student body, and our staff are priority one. And then the next commitment was, as we were looking at this several weeks ago, how do we continue our student body's access to higher education? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But with that, I thank you as our students, and I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our faculty and staff. I hope you understand the Herculean effort that the college faculty went through in a 3-week period to lift virtually almost 100% of our courses online. We know it was not perfect in some cases, but for the most part, they have done a commendable job in providing continuity with your education. And there are going to be some glitches. There are some unique classes and circumstances that will have to be modified, and we apologize for that. But we're going to do our best to make you whole. And I think some things will be shared with you from student services about how the state has empowered us to help you with your education, with holding you harmless if there are some adverse impacts to you. The other team that specifically I'd like to acknowledge, you may not know it, you see your faculty, but there is a team of online educational support personnel that we call Delta. And they are led by Dean Micah Orloff. And I would say they are probably, no, not probably, they are the best in the state. And we are fortunate to have them. And again, I want to acknowledge that team that went above and beyond. And while we were kind of closed for 3 weeks gearing up, I hope you know those people were working weekends and nights, late hours, and those classes didn't come online. So when you do get across that stage, virtually, as Dr. Colson will talk about, remember there were people behind the scenes just doing an amazing job. And there's so many others. I wish I could acknowledge everything from the Public Information Office, who there for a while was putting out daily updates. Now we're just doing the weekly video and an occasional update. But so many areas have rolled up their sleeves and gone above and beyond that the whole college community came together to rally around you, our students. So I want to make sure you know that that has really been our focus to keeping us moving forward. The one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it kind of bleeds into the financial assistance and student support. We know that an email went out to students, not just at MSJC last night, but from across the country from one of the vendors that provides disbursement services for financial aid awards from BankMobile. And the the bottom line is that was unbeknownst to us, that it was going out. And there might have been some false sense of money coming, because true, they were trying to communicate about the Federal CARES Act that was passed a little over a week ago. And the college is going to be receiving that $4.8 million for students. However, we have not received those funds yet. And in fact, I want to talk about the process real quick. So Kristen, can you go ahead and throw up the slide regarding the CARES Act? So it may take a moment. So real quickly, the communication you probably received was one from BankMobile. As I said, they asked for students to complete the information updating their banking and contact information. And although you received that email, those funds have not been awarded to us, and we haven't awarded them to anyone yet. We apologize for this confusion and have requested that this vendor, this company, send out an email clarifying their request for this information. We do know that emergency financial assistance will be coming in with those funds, but as the document says, it has to go to students for housing, food, transportation, technology, infrastructure, or I'm sorry, institutional support, childcare, healthcare, and other miscellaneous expenses. So we are going through a process. It's a very simple application. It is not like the FAFSA that you've already completed, but it is something that we have to be accountable for the federal government. We are required to have a system. Again, it is not going to be a lengthy application, very simple. It'll be available next week. And then once we get the funds and we can identify the students with the need, those funds will begin to be dispersed. But the federal government just recently gave us some clarifying information as well on this, and as recently as yesterday afternoon. So there is some eligibility criteria. They have to be a financial aid Title IV eligible student. Again, these are not our rules. This is coming from the federal government. Only US citizens are eligible, or eligible non-citizens are eligible for those funds. Valid Social Security number, a register, you have to be registered with the Selective Service and have a high school diploma or GED. So again, we're going to make this information abundantly clear, and we expect hopefully next week we can start to see those funds come in, and our goal is to get those into the hands of students as soon as possible. And when I say that, that doesn't mean a long period of time. I've asked, can we start to turn those funds around in a matter of a day or two? So we will look for that coming out, and we will be communicating with you very regularly about that. So I'm trying to look through my notes. And, you know, the other thing I wanted to talk about, I know it was reported to me there was some chatter about some schools already distributing the dollars. We're aware of only one community college in the state that has already received the funds. And we've also heard that there have been blanket where schools have just distributed to all students an X dollar amount. That goes against the directive of the Department of Education. And also our philosophy has been one that we want to make sure we put the money in the students' hands that really have the highest need and have demonstrated need. And we want to make sure that we really support those students that are really most at risk. So that's why we have some methodology in place that helps to apply these funds and leverage them against our students' needs. So with that, I know we'll probably have some questions on that. I've lost the chat feature on my side. So And okay, so Rebecca answered the one student with how to identify the students with need. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, well, don't worry about the chat, Roger. We'll handle the chat questions and we'll throw them to you if we need to. So just go ahead and keep going.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I hope not too many students are adversely impacted by this confusion and thinking that they were going to get funding from this source, today or tomorrow. But we are committed to getting it to you in the very, very near future once we have those funds. And then once we have identified you, because again, we are accountable to the federal government for those funds. So look for more information coming out. So with that, again, we'll probably get to more questions, and if some come up, we can answer those at the end or through the chat. But with that, I know a lot of students have had questions about what does the future hold, both for this term that you're living right now. What does summer look like? What does fall look like? So with that, I will give you our Interim Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Jeremy Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz, and it's great to be with you students today. This has been an incredible challenge, and I want to echo the president in my thanks, both to students for persevering. We're seeing students really continue to try to make this happen, and you're doing really great work in your classes. Also, great thanks to the faculty who really took on the great challenge of converting classes that are, some of them are very difficult to convert online, and finding ways to continue your education. So they've really done great work. And so knowing that the COVID-19 situation is very fluid, we are following the guidance that we hear from the county on what we can open and when we can open. And so we thought really early on, we thought it most prudent to just turn the summer semester into an online semester so that we can publish a schedule with no surprises for students. We really wanted to make sure that the schedule communicated the format that your classes would be in. And so that's really the goal for fall as well, to really communicate clearly. So summer is completely online, with the exception of our PEIC classes or intramural sports. We are hoping to find ways to offer those in a face-to-face environment. However, if the guidance from the county does not lift, those classes would be affected as well. So we're scheduling them face-to-face just in the hopes that we can find a way to do that. Looking at fall, we've begun to plan a schedule that is more online than we've scheduled in the past. However, we want to make sure that we're communicating again with students early on as clearly as we can. We hope to be able to offer some classes face-to-face. And so you will see in the fall schedule a mixture of face-to-face classes that have times and rooms identified, as well as the online courses that we've tended to offer. You will probably see more online because we need to be planning ahead, and really there's a strong chance that our fall semester will either begin online or be completely online. So we will also be messaging to students on the front end, no matter what if you see a face-to-face class in the schedule, it will very likely begin online. And we will just keep our ear to the ground and make sure that we're following the guidance of the county in what we can bring back onto the campus and what needs to stay online. So there's a lot of planning that's going into that right now. Each department looks different and has different needs and has different rules that they need to play by. But we're trying our hardest to stick to what we communicate to students early on. I also did want to remind you all and make sure that you're all aware that our tutoring support and learning resource center are also online. So you have access to tutoring, and you can in your Canvas shell, you will see information on how you can access tutoring via NetTutor in the online setting. So those services are still there. We anticipate they'll be even more needed during this time as you are not as connected with your instructors. And so feel free to take advantage of those services. So that's all that I have at this point. But as we go along, I'll be happy to take questions that come up.
Thank you, Jeremy. And again, I know there were a couple of questions coming in about classes that had obviously very hands-on type of questions regarding the final. We will be getting back to those students directly about those, because those are very unique situations. So anyway, I know students are often very much aware of their own budgets, but maybe not so much about the state's budget and its implication to the college. We are fortunate to have a great chief business officer in Beth Gomez, and she is staying plugged in every day with the state. She may not have the greatest news always, but she is a voice advocating for us. So just to share a little bit about the budget side and its impact on MSJC, Vice President Gomez.
She's unmuted.
Beth, we're having audio challenges with you. Mic up, because you are silent.
She was having problems connecting, so I'm wondering if she's still having some issues. So we'll come. Wait, Beth, is that you? No.
Okay, so we'll take a pause for Beth, and we will cycle on down. And Dr. Colson, I know you've got health services, financial aid, new grading.
Yes, and thank you, Dr. Schultz. I appreciate that. You know, I want to start off with some comments. I see some questions coming in related to our 2020 graduation. And while we always pride ourselves at MSJC in hosting a very phenomenal and celebratory commencements, this year, unfortunately, we are going to be hosting a virtual commencement in the spirit of our stay-at-home orders that we're under, and just to keep everyone safe. So in that regard, I can share with you that we've met with student focus groups. We've researched other institutions to see how they're conducting theirs. And I think everyone, the graduates, are going to be very pleased with what we've been able to put together. And so just sharing a little bit about that, it's going to be a combination of both pre-recorded and live sessions. All the graduates will have an opportunity to submit their image and a little bio about themselves on our graduation page. And we're looking forward to that coming in. There's also going to be some special vignettes of graduates and having them celebrated. So we have an opportunity to introduce some unique aspects to our commencement. And I would encourage everyone to go to our graduation webpage and complete that form so that your image and your information can be relayed. You know, I've just got word today that a number of our graduates have indicated that because of some transportation or even geographical issues, normally they would not be able to attend, but in this virtual environment, they will be able to attend. So again, that's on May 21st. And we plan on starting this ceremony at 5 o'clock. So we look forward to your participation in that and looking forward to a big celebration. So I will ask now our Associate Dean of Health Services, Dr. Lisa McAllister, to give us an update about our health centers and everything that students can avail themselves to. Dr. McAllister?
I need to know what Lisa is logged in under, because she's not coming up in my list of participants.
I got
Is
her.
it just, okay.
You're unmuted, Lisa.
Everybody. Yeah, I was just logged in as Lisa, but we're doing some great things here in health services. We are keeping track of the county mandates for everybody to make sure that we get the latest and greatest information out to you guys, and we can lift these orders as soon as possible. But we are all doing a great job in flattening the curve. So I just want to say kudos to everybody. Keep it up. I know as temperatures go higher, it's harder, but we're doing a really good job. In relation to health services, some of the things that we're doing for you here include mental health services online. So we can do telehealth counseling, one-on-one appointments, and they are still confidential. They're still private. You can go on the patient portal and schedule your own appointment. And if you have problems or if you don't really want to do that, you can still get a hold of us in the health center by reaching out on our website and calling us or emailing us, whichever one you want to do. We also have telehealth appointments with our RN available. She can answer your medical questions. She can triage. She can provide patient education, nurse advice, things like that. So we are definitely up and running. We also put a link to some anonymous mental health screenings from Mindwise. You can go online, just click the Mindwise link, and it'll take you to some mental health screenings to kind of gauge where you are and give you some resources in the community for you. There's also a Safer at Home link on the health services webpage. And if you go on that link, we've put together a whole lot of different things that students can engage with. They can see live webcams from zoos. They can attend operas from the Metropolitan Opera in New York. They can join cooking demonstrations and learn to cook with some of the Food Network stars that are offering free classes. There's entertainment apps, there's fitness apps, there's health apps, you name it, we got it. So head on over to the health services webpage and take out all the things that we have to offer, and go ahead and get on the patient portal and get yourself registered if you want an appointment. That's about it.
Thank you, Dr. McAllister. I'd now like to introduce our Dean of Student Services, Dolores Smith. And if Dolores, if you could come on and share a few words about financial aid, I'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Colson. I just want to give you a few updates on financial aid. All financial aid disbursements will continue, as outlined on our financial aid website. And so they will be dispersed as scheduled. And you can take a look at the disbursement schedule on our website. April 27th is our next disbursement to be scheduled, and that is for anyone who is eligible to receive their financial aid. In addition to that, I just wanted to give you some updates of our virtual lobby. Financial aid has been working in Cranium Cafe in our virtual lobby, and we're there to assist you with any financial aid questions you may have. Our hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday through Thursday, and 8 to noon on Friday. So you can also reach us by email. And if you have any questions after hours or early in the morning, we can be able to assist you by email as well for general questions that you may have. And then new to our financial aid office is being able to submit documents via our e-document submission. That is on a financial aid student services hub under financial aid. You can submit any verification documents or documents we may be requesting from you regarding financial aid. It's a real simple process. And again, if we need to help you navigate through that, you can contact us through our virtual lobby, and we'll be there to assist you with how to submit those documents. Okay.
Okay.
So I think there is links there that have been posted where we're located. But again, we just want to emphasize that, you know, our funding, as far as our disbursements, are scheduled to go out as planned. And then also one more thing for 2021 year, I wanted to mention that we are packaging and warding students as scheduled. And so students who should have received notification regarding their CCCPG grant, formerly the BOG. And so once you're eligible for that, we really need you to complete your FAFSA in order to determine if you're eligible. And once you are eligible, you will receive notification via your email, your student email account, that you're eligible. Students who are not eligible, once we determine your non-eligibility, you'll also receive notification as well. And you'll also get information on options. We're working to have our self-service, our financial aid self-service checklist that's in self-service available to all students by the end of next week. And that is where you can view to see what your status is, if you're needing any documents that we might need from you. And this is for the 2021 year.
All right. Well, thank you, Dean Smith. And I'd now like to throw it over to our Associate Dean of Student Life, and that would be Maya Cardenas. And Maya, if you could come on and just share with us how we're keeping students engaged in student life through this Zoom environment.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is a challenge, I think, for all of us, right, to adapt to this new environment. And so certainly the folks of us in student life and student government, SGA, are doing the best we can to just really hear what you all need as students. We've been hearing from our student leaders that just coming together and really just sharing space together has been something that has been really needed. And so some things that we've got going on, we've been having some hangout sessions. So we had a student life hangout session last week. We'll have one probably next week as well, where we're just really allowing folks to just drop in and just have conversations and check in with each other. The SGA will be having a Netflix watch party next Friday, May 1st. We'll be doing showing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So we did one last night for Earth Day, and it was actually really fun. Just a way to hang out and just try to take our minds off of things. We're also going to be organizing a parent panel next week. May 6th and May 7th, which will be 5 to 6. And so we encourage parents. We know that folks are, navigating different challenges as parents, caretakers. So we are definitely encouraging folks to participate in that. All of our events are going to be on the weekly roundup. And so you should also on our events calendar. So if y'all have questions about anything that's going on, please refer to those two places. Also, please follow us on our social media Instagram page. So at MSJC_student.gov. If you actually just go to Instagram and type in MSJC, you'll find a plethora of club Instagram pages, MSJC pages, and that's really, I think, been a really great outlet for folks to find out what's going on. Our SGA elections are coming up, so we'll be doing that May 4th through May 7th. We have a Zoom with the candidates next week, which is April 29th, and that will be happening so that folks will have the opportunity to meet our candidates. Again, I think that's going to be 12 to 1, but please refer to our events page and your weekly roundup. Everything that I'm just reporting on will be in the weekly roundup next week. We also have a new MSJC student, the Talent student newspaper, just launched their webpage, which we're really excited about. They've been working really hard. Advisor Michelle Weber and those student journalists have been working really hard. You can find them on Instagram on their webpage at MSJC Talent. And so I encourage you to follow them there as well. Our clubs are still meeting. So if y'all are in clubs or if you're interested in getting more involved, we definitely have those spaces available. You can contact us at sldp@msjc.edu. You can also go to our webpage, Student Life, and find out club schedules. There we have our Council of Gamers. So we have some cool things going on with our Eat Sports groups. I think for the most part, students are just trying to get used to this new platform. And so utilizing Zoom, utilizing Confer Zoom and Canvas I think is something that we're going to start to definitely be more engaged in. We also have a TikTok challenge that's happening, so you may have seen that. We really encourage students to get involved. It's something really fun and easy, hopefully. So we're asking folks to just post really fun, creative little videos on TikTok and tag MSJC Eagles Rise. So that's a really great opportunity to just, just try to take your mind off of everything that's going on. We understand as a college how difficult things are right now. And we're really here to listen. If you have questions or concerns, if you want to get involved with more activities, you have an idea for an event, please email us at sldp@msjc.edu. We're open to everything. You can also try emailing the COVID-19 email as well. That comes to us too. In general, we're just doing our best to be receptive and listen to what y'all need, and really just try to take your mind off everything that's going on right now. We appreciate that things are tough, but we're here for you and we're listening. Our SGA meetings are also a really good opportunity to give feedback. If you have feedback, we meet every Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We stream it live on our YouTube channel. And again, thank you. The SLDP email is a great way to get that link. We also have it on our Instagram. So again, encouraging y'all to follow us on Instagram through social media. You type in MSJC and you get about a dozen or so different pages from all of our departments. And that's really where I think a lot of communication has been going strong. The TikTok challenge is a great opportunity. I see some of the details in our chat. Students can win up to $100 based on how many likes they get. And that's courtesy of our MSJC Foundation, which we really appreciate. We also will probably be launching some spirit weeks happen in the next couple of weeks to encourage folks to just, again, have some fun as we trend towards graduation. Even though graduation isn't the way that we necessarily wanted it to be this year, we're going to do our best to just make it as lighthearted and celebratory as possible. We honor you. We're here for you. And we support you 100,000%. And that's it. So if y'all have any questions, again, sldp@msjc.edu. My name is Maya Cardenas, and y'all are always welcome to email me directly, mcardenas@msjc.edu.
Well, thank you, Maya. We appreciate that update, and thank you for keeping all of our students informed and keeping them engaged in the virtual environment. And before I close out, I just wanted to mention something that Dr. Schultz referred to, and that was the EW grade. Our academic senate approved this back long before we closed up. And I want to appreciate them in doing that. And what that means is between the time that the Riverside Health Office asked us to close and through the end of the term, and that was March 13th through the end of the term, if students experience hardship and need to withdraw, that they can petition for the EW grade. And that means that it will not impact their financial aid. And we appreciate the Senate, and we appreciate the State Chancellor's Office supporting us in that. So that's about it. And if you have further questions, we'll be paying attention to the chat. Thank you, Dr. Schultz.
Quick clarification on the EW grade. Anybody who drops a class or is dropped from a class from the time that we were shut down by Riverside County will automatically receive the EW grade. So there's no need to petition for it this current semester.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know it came up in some of the pre-questions. Maybe either Jeremy or Brandon can talk real quickly. This is another issue students are questioning. They're hearing about the pass, no pass grade option. Can somebody comment on that from the team?
Sure, I can. Yeah, so along the lines of the EW grade, students will also have flexibility across all of their classes to request a pass, no pass grade instead of ABC, DF. So an ABC would turn into a pass grade in that case. A D would turn into a no pass. We're also exploring the idea of Fs being converted into EW grades, and we are finalizing that process as we go at this point. The timeline for that would mirror that of the EW. So if the request came up as a part of March 13, that would go from March 13 until the end of the semester, the last day of the semester.
Right. And I think we'll be able to get that out once we have that confirmed with the Academic Senate. We will be able to add that to the FAQ. So that's still kind of fluid right now, but thank you for that clarification. I know she's back up, and let's hope her audio is functioning.
I think it is now.
Oh, there you are.
Yay.
This is Beth Gomez, our Vice President of Business Services, and what you know as a student regarding the state budget and how it impacts Mount San Jacinto College.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. Really, basically, at this point, we don't know the effects of the budget long-term on MSJC. What we're hearing is we're gearing up for some sort of cut due to the economic challenges from the COVID-19. We were expecting when this first happened, if you can imagine, a V-shaped curve where something goes all the way down, like the economy, and then it jumps all the way back up, which makes the V. That doesn't look like it's happening. The longer we go on with this virus and the economy is shut down, they're looking more at an L-shaped curve. That's the worst case scenario. If you can imagine a line that goes down, that's the economy, and then it just goes flat. It's for a period of time. It doesn't jump up like a V would, it stays flat. And so that would be the worst case scenario for us. What we're hoping for is more of a U-shaped, where it goes down, it stays flat for a little while, and then it goes back up. But of course, we won't know the effect of that until we all get back to some set of normalcy in our economy, in our lives. And so what we're doing is they're advising us that everything is staying flat this year. So we'll end the year with a flat budget, open it up with a flat budget. And due to the extension of personal income tax until July 15th, we won't know anything on the state budget until sometime in August. So what we would normally know during our May revise, they're kind of calling it an August revise. And that way we'll know what's happening in August. And at MSJC, we're just doing several scenarios on what we think, looking at all the financial indicators, modeling what we think our budget might be. But I just want to assure you that we've done this before in the Great Recession in 2008-9, and we have a lot of the same team here. And our priority was students. Our priority was any cuts that we made, we tried to make them so that they had the least amount of impact on students as possible. We tightened up our efficiencies, our fill rates, our schedules, but we really did try, and we'll have that same lens in terms of focusing all of our cuts to stay as far away from students as possible. I did want to touch really quick. We will be transparent throughout this whole process. We will let our students know, your student leaders who sit on our committees and our shared governance. We're going to be really transparent about things that we do. We had students involved the last time we had to make cuts. We heard their voices. One thing I wanted to say before we end is as soon as we know, we'll get that information out to you, but don't count on it until probably August, the fall, sometime in that time period. And if we know something in between then, we'll push that out. As far as this year, the State Chancellor's Office is, if you go for that EW, if you get an EW and you paid student fees, we will refund those fees. You just have to request them. It's not like in the past where you have to fill out this form and it's got to be taken here and there. All the simple thing you have to do, we have a email. It's refunds@msjc.edu. It's in the chat. You submit that, we will automatically process your refund if you apply for a refund. So that's seamless. That's all we're asking from you is to send your request to that email. So as we know more about the budget, we will bring it to you, but I want to assure you the same, there's a lot of the same leadership here now, and there was leadership at other colleges. We all pretty much know how to respond to these emergencies and these fiscal crises. And again, I'm glad to be here because MSJC, we're a family. We do these things collectively. We hear everyone's voice, and we don't do anything until we know that we absolutely have to. And we always keep students at the forefront and the focus of any kind of budget reductions we make. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Is there anything from the cabinet side that we left out? Vice President Moore, Executive Dean Johnson, or Executive Dean Teague? Anything you want to jump in and share that we left off? So I'm seeing some shaking heads. Again, I know there was a question about graduation. John, are we contemplating allowing, once mass gatherings do happen again, assuming those will happen in the future, I know some schools are talking about recognizing the 2020 class in the spring of 21 even. Is that something we're talking about? Hang on, I'll try and unmute you. There you go.
Okay, thank you. That's right, Roger. We are looking at ways to honor the 2020 graduates at some point in the future with a ceremony. And so I would just ask everyone to keep checking back in that regard. Currently we do not know how long these orders are going to stay in place. And we want to anticipate the best and the safest environment whenever we try to host it. And when we do host it, we want it to be a very celebratory event. And so those are the plans moving forward. And, I appreciate everyone understanding and working with us to make this year one of the best years it can be. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And I know I saw another comment about maybe packaging up the commencement funds and distributing those. I don't want to get into the complexities of higher education finance. There's different pots of money. So there's a lot of funds that are coming in that we are able to distribute to students, like the CARES Act funds and the Promise funds and financial aid funds. And then there's general fund dollars that are expected to be used for the operation of the college. And we are prohibited from distributing those to students. Those would be considered a gift of public funds because those are given to us as the college to operate. And besides, it's not a large amount of money compared to the millions of dollars that come in aid. It's in the tens of thousands of dollars. And the other thing, like Beth said, the one thing that we will be doing, and we have already started to do, is we're trying to save as much money as we can to create our own rainy day fund moving forward for those funds that are the ones that we are given by the state for operations. But we're going to pass through every single dollar that we possibly can to help our students. That's not an issue. We're scraping. And the other thing that I was remiss in commenting on is our foundation. And you see the college and probably don't know that there's a separate entity called the MSJC Foundation. And they're out there working on trying to get grants for food insecurity, for additional support through the Pledge for Success. They've been instrumental in donating money to secure the Chromebooks and helping with the hotspots. So I want to make sure that our students know it's not just scholarships that our foundation gives out. They have been at the forefront and at the table trying to find ways to help our students get through this situation. I mean, they're there year in and year out, but they've really stepped up their game to help and beat the bush for resources and support dollars for you all as our students. So again, I want to thank the foundation. I don't know if they're here on the line. And I see the question about clarifying fall classes will be online as well. Jeremy, you want to restate that?
Sorry, yes. So it will be a mixture. You'll see in the fall schedule some face-to-face classes. However, we anticipate that the county may still require us to be closed. And in that case, even those face-to-face classes would be migrated online as well. So we're doing planning to be able to offer some face-to-face, but we may have to shift everything online again in the fall.
And again, I think we're going to have to be incredibly flexible and nimble. And what I mean by that is we may get a notice that in August that we're clear to go, and then things could change with the public health department and they flip us right back. So again, remember what our driving principle is. It is keeping you, our students, our staff, and your families and our communities safe. And we're not the public health experts. That's where we rely on Dr. McAllister and her close relationship with county public health. But, you know, right behind that is your education, and we're going to do everything we can to get us back to normal when we can. But again, this is one time we are completely reactive in our responses. We're not driving this. It is county public health. And, you know, I kind of touched on it about all of our comprehensive services. Dr. Colson, and you've got a team that continues to work on food for thought. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Schultz. So on April the 2nd, after we were closed, we were able to deliver food in a protected manner to students that drove through. And this is an extension of our Food for Thought. But, you know, going forward, we haven't forgotten about these students that are suffering from food insecurity. Our plan is to be able to use the U.S. mail and mail certificates for food out to students. So for those students who are suffering from food insecurity, we just want to let you know that we plan to continue our distributions as we're moving forward through this closure period. Thank you.
Okay. I see a student, Antonio, has his hand raised, but if we could get you to go through the chat feature if you're capable to ask your question. So we'll give that a little bit of time for Antonio to communicate with us. I don't want to put him on the spot, but we do have our SGA president sitting patiently by. Victor, do you want me to go ahead and unmute you and let you say a few words?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Yamas. I'm your SJ's president. Well, not for long, but I have been for the last year. If y'all have any concerns regarding student life specifically, y'all can always email me as well. I'll put my email in the chat as well, for instance. And gosh, I completely butchered this. There you go. Okay. So again, if y'all have any questions, concerns, comments, please let me know, like within SGA. Also, like Maya said earlier, our meetings are open to the public. You can always submit a public comment to the SLDP msjc.edu email. Let us know what you want our attention to be focused on. See if we can write any resolutions and any legislation that can possibly get you more funding or any help, regardless of financial status, right? So yeah, that's all I pretty much have to say. We at SGA are working pretty hard trying to get things back to normal. Well, not back to normal, but try to get a sense of normalcy. So yeah, thank you.
You know, Victor, thank you. And you just mentioned it. One thing, we were on a call yesterday. Next year, for those of you that are continuing students, it's going to be a real important role that you play in your advocacy, because community colleges, I don't want to bore you with all the details, but you know, we educate well over 2 million people a year. We're the ones educating the nurses, the EMTs, the CNAs, the firefighters, the police, all the first responders that are out there really responding, and yet we get a fraction of the funding per student that the other systems do. And we know with the recession happening that we're going to have record numbers of students turning to community colleges. And the one thing we need to ensure that there is funding to provide the access for people to come back for retraining and to go into those fields that are so needed moving forward. Because, you know, what was it? Wildfires was the issue last year. And around the state the last few years. And there's going to be so many careers, and we were talking about this the other day. There's probably going to be new allied health careers coming out in public health. So community colleges, I know a couple of legislators yesterday were recognizing that community colleges are the economic driver of the state and its workforce. But unfortunately, they don't listen to people like Vice President Gomez and I in Sacramento. They listen to students who need the funds, who need the classes to get through. So if you're still going to be a student, definitely work with SGA in helping to advocate for the critical access to higher education and the support that you all need. So I'm going to do something.
One of the questions that came directly to me was, what about a DSPS student that has difficulty learning online?
John or Jason or?
Okay, yeah. So what we've done is ensured that through our Canvas instructional shells, that DSPS, or Accommodation Service Center now, as we like to call it, that all of our material is compliant with ADA requirements. We still have our interpreters that are available at the request of students. And I would urge students that are concerned about that to work with Mr. Jason Constantine in the ASC office, formerly known as DSPS. If you have any special needs, we're there for you. We're able to accommodate you in that manner. So that's where we are, and I hope I've answered the question.
Roger, you're still muted. I see that we have a question that came through from Brian Moreno. You're actually getting a response typed up. I see Rebecca Teague typing away. So that question was addressed. It's okay that you came in a little late. Rebecca will get that answer right in the chat for you. The email was legitimate. It was just sent out prematurely. So the entity that sent it out shouldn't have sent it out that early. So Rebecca will type up some more information so you'll have it there in written format. Take it away, boss.
Thank you. And I know, and Antonio, you had your hand up, and I now found out that you might not have had the ability to. So if you give me a thumbs up if you want me to unmute you and have you try and ask a question. Okay, I think you're open, Antonio.
Okay, thank you. Well, I was just curious of the DSPS student thing. And then my other question with Lawson. Okay, well, I understand that we don't have a scraper that could go around or anything. What can we do about that?
So Dr. Colson, again, I think that goes to our DSPS, or I'm sorry, the new name escapes me, but
That's right. Really, yeah. Hey, Antonio. Yeah, it's good to see you again. Yeah, work again with Jason Constantine in our office through DSPS. That's available through our hub. And as far as scribes, we are looking into ways that we can make sure that accommodation occurs. So I would say we want to work directly with him, because he'll have all the latest information about how we're making those accommodations. But that's a good question.
So the questions keep coming up again about the fund, or excuse me, the CARES funding. And again, we will be putting out a clarifying FAQ or communication, but there will be an application that'll go out next week, next Wednesday. And it's very simple. It is not the FAFSA, and we will be able to process those as soon as we get the money from the federal government. That's pretty much in a nutshell. It is a legit communication about the funds but it was like we've said here, it was premature and kind of really ambushed everybody without having some context if you weren't aware of that. So a lot more information will be coming out. And yes, you will have to apply for the CARES Act funding. And yes, there are eligibility requirements. And so again, we went over those, and that'll all be in the written statement. And we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible. And again, our goal is to get those out in a matter of a day or two upon completing that. So with that, is there anything else that I have forgotten? Okay, and I think Dr. Colson just answered the question about the scribes and working with academic support. And again, we will be getting this funding out, but again, if you weren't here at the very beginning, you didn't hear my comments that the federal government actually just gave us some clarifying direction as recently as yesterday afternoon, and those funds are not yet in our account, so therefore we cannot distribute that which we do not have. So again, just be a little more patient with us, and I can tell you the financial aid office and student services will move mountains to try and get these dollars into your hands as quickly as possible. I know that from talking with them, from working with them. So I don't see a whole lot of new questions. I know we had one that just came up on graduation. That'll come out again. There is information about that, and this will be available for you to play again because we are a few minutes after, and since we're touching on things again. But Dr. Colson is about 30 minutes into this. He talks about graduation. So with that, we will see if there is interest in us doing this again very shortly. I want to thank you all for spending the time. I hope you found something valuable today to take away. And I hope you also realize we are in this together. And our greatest goal is to have you go across that stage in person is our preference, but we'll take virtually right now. But again, we're proud of you as our students, embodying all the values and our learning outcomes. And I want to thank you again. And we'll touch base with Maya and student government and see how many more times we want to do this. But thank you, Victor, Maya, and everybody. And with that, have a great, safe day. And I look forward to one day seeing you face to face very soon. Goodbye.